It's finally over. I'm free! I'm free! Hello, everybody. I am Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming, and I have beaten Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster. I got the true demon ending. Lucifer has fallen in spectacular fashion. Absolutely laid waste to that disco ball and to Lucifer. It's done. I have beaten my first Shin Megami Tensei game that's not a spin-off, aka Persona. And I feel pretty good about it. But this video is essentially payoff to a running gag that was going on in the stream series when I was playing through SMT 3. If you want my full analytical thoughts where I try to be good and actually formulate coherent thoughts and break the game down by its pros and cons, I'll leave a link to yesterday's video in the description down below. This video is emotional catharsis for me, because SMT 3 was a frustrating game. It's one of the most frustrating games I've ever played. And while playing through it, the joke was that I was going to tear into it in this video. That the day after I beat it, I would just make a video ragging on so many different elements and gameplay design choices that were introduced and implemented in SMT 3 that felt more frustrating and nonsensical than anything else. And we'll get to that. But now that I've beaten the game, and that it's in the rearview mirror, and that I've started Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance properly, which was the first mainline SMT game that I played, I just never beat it back in the day on the Switch. I am appreciative of the fact that I played SMT 3, because I think what it's going to do, and the legacy that it'll leave for me, is besides having an absolutely stellar aesthetic and overall tone, and really fun actual combat and gameplay, and a story that I did kind of care about, I think what SMT 3 is going to do the most for me is make me appreciate 5 Vengeance all the more. And I think that does have value, and that's not meant to be a knock or a criticism of 3 Nocturne. Don't worry, we'll get to that. I am going to have my emotional release. This video will be my emotional punching bag. It's just we need to lay the foundation first. Okay, so let's go over the reasons why there's many elements to this game. Outside of the ones I just listed as pros, I disliked pretty much everything else. Besides the characters, they were cool. I am ordinarily not a fan of overly punishing gameplay design. What do I mean by that? You see, SMT 3 has this reputation for being a very hard game. It's extremely difficult and will beat you senseless just because it can. And there's a few difficulty spikes throughout this game, and I did only play a normal mode, but I wouldn't qualify SMT 3 as inherently a hard game, because when you understand how it plays, a lot of the fights are actually rather easy and simple to actually figure out how to tackle and overcome. Once you figure out you just have to stack buffs and debuffs, have some demons that are meant for magic and your other ones that are meant for physical, and you slot them in on a needed basis, you're mostly good. Like, a vast majority of the fights in this game will roll over if you're at least somewhat level appropriate and you know that strategy. And there's only a few fights in the latter half of the game that we'll get to. I wouldn't qualify SMT 3 as hard, I would talk about it as punishing. Because if you don't pass certain knowledge checks, which you won't know without prior experience, or someone else telling you this information, you'll just get hit with random bullcrap and die, and then revert back to the last save and lose a bunch of progress. More than once has it happened where I beat a boss, immediately died to a random encounter in the overworld that maybe spammed avenge or whatever, or had a one-shot mechanic, and I just died and having to redo that boss fight that I already cleared. I do not fundamentally enjoy replaying crap I've already played when I'm forced to. I don't mind replaying a game if it's really fun, but losing progress on failure, to me, that's not difficult, that's not engaging, that's just annoying and a slog, an eater of my time. It's annoying flat out for me. And there's multiple moments in SMT 3 that I wasn't sure if I would actually beat it if I wasn't streaming the game. I probably would, but my desire and my love for this game quickly eroded as we got into the second half of it, because so much design in this game, to me, reeks of artificial difficulty, where it's not actually hard, it's RNG or a knowledge check. Fights like Baal or Beelzebub or Metatron. Even the final fight somewhat, but that one less so. There's so many fights in this game where it's just, do you know what element the one-shot mechanic is? Because if you don't, roll the dice. And then afterwards, you can prepare accordingly, and the fight's not actually hard, it's just an RNG slog. And so many of these fights have bloated HP pools, so they take forever to get through, which compounds the RNG over time. And it's that design that permeates SMT3 that I found so wholly off-putting and soured the genuinely great elements this game has that I covered in yesterday's video. I love the customization, I love the party building, I love the world, the environments, the tone, the dialogue. The actual combat is super fun. It's just certain design and certain enemy design is designed to be frustrating and punishing instead of engaging and difficult, at least to me. Again, this is all just my opinion, and there will be people out there that love punishing design, and there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm talking about here is why I find it frustrating and why I find it off-putting. Because that's the name of the game with SMT3, and there's so many little moments, so many small design choices in this game that I go, who actually playtested this and thought this was okay? Why are all the dungeons essentially the same? Why are they all just labyrinths and you have to brute force figure out the correct teleporting path throughout the labyrinth? It's annoying. As a one-off, okay, sure, I can rock with that. But like when every dungeon plays this style, it gets so old and repetitive. And every time I came across a dungeon in this game, I pretty much groaned and just wanted the sweet release of it ending, where they would have some gimmick, we just have to run around like a headless chicken, getting into random fights because this game has random overworld encounters, especially in dungeons, and at some point figure out how to get through the dungeon. And it got so annoying to me that in the final dungeon, I couldn't be asked anymore, and I just looked up a guide to get through it because it was so tedious and boring. It's like 5 floors of teleporting you to random places all over the goddamn map for no reason, filled to the brim, and especially in the second half, where like half the enemies you encounter repel physical. So if you don't have a bunch of MP restoratives, or if you don't have Pierce, or you don't have almighty attacks with drain abilities, it's just a slog. An utter sheer slog of a game. And even then, sometimes they are rather generous when it comes to new save rooms, and sometimes they're just annoying. Why in the final dungeon, going to one of the final fights, do I have to go up and down like 2 to 3 elevators in order to get to the actual staircase leading to the boss fight from the save room? It's annoying. There's no reason for it to be designed like that other than to confuse me and waste my time hoping to get me to get even more random encounters that I fight so many times they get boring and stale. And at that point in the game, I already have Pierce, so I just use auto attack just to try and get through it faster, and then sometimes enemies will just have avenge. Half the design in this game feels as if its sole intent to bore me to tears. Not even to tears, to just stagnation. And I don't understand the thought process behind so many design choices in this game. Because one of the things I heard so many times throughout streaming SMT3 was that, yes, it has a lot of like design that's just not aged well. Even for the time, a lot of these design choices are freaking stupid. Like that one save room, we gotta go up and down multiple elevators to get to the boss fight for no reason other than to confuse you and pad the timeout. Or like to progress the main story, I had to find a random Huapo in a random building in Asakusa who is supposed to point me in the right direction, and I just had to stumble upon it. Cool, dude, cool. Don't even get me started on Labyrinth of Amala. I have never seen a more poorly designed dungeon in a JRPG in my life. It's shocking how idiotic that place is. You either have rooms you have to walk through that tick for half of your health percentage-wise with each tick, and sometimes you'll get random encounters with grossly overleveled mobs. Again, design that's not meant to be fun or engaging, but waste your time, waste your resources, and to be an utter slog. It's boring, dude. The entire Labyrinth of Amala, sans the sections that involve Dante chasing you, because those were kind of cool and interesting. Every other element sucked. That was so hard to see, what? You spam it! Whose idea for Labyrinth of Amala was it to make it so that I had to light the menorahs and place them on the pedestals, and then that would open a door to get me the actual checkpoint to that part of the map, because there are moments throughout the Labyrinth of Amala you have to go down to that pedestal to trigger the new fiend fights to spawn in the overworld, so when you want to return there and progress the Labyrinth of Amala, which is required for the true demon ending, I would have to run through the previous Kalpa floor all over again to get back to that place. Dude, move the checkpoint to the same room the pedestal's in. This is like basic crap. It's not a matter of the game is aged or anything like that. For certain things, okay, sure. There's so many elements to this game that just don't feel play-tested or were designed in such a way to be simply frustrating and annoying and off-putting. I forgot two key elements. When you use the checkpoint system, and I use checkpoint in quotations there, to go down to a specific Kalpa floor in the Labyrinth of Amala, you have to do this falling down mechanic like I'm doing the Byakuya fight from Final Fantasy XIV. It's solidly whatever, but why is like every obstacle in this red tunnel also red? It can be really hard to see, especially coming out of a turn. And then I forgot about Puzzle Boy, this piece of cow manure. Yeah, there's a series of 20 different puzzle stages you have to do all in one sitting because you can't save and checkpoint it apparently, that are weirdly obtuse and complicated. And it takes forever. And I'm fairly certain that a Magatama comes from this. It's been a while, but I'm fairly confident in that. It's just a chore. And I don't find that to be a virtue, I view that to be annoying. Some people will like that, cool, sure. I don't want to have to make that disclaimer for all parts of this video. I find it annoying. I don't find it hard, I don't find it engaging, I find it to be a waste of my damn time. Throughout this game, I can't think of a single fight that was actually genuinely hard, where I felt I had to at least really think about it or anything like that. Like, most of them played the same, and you had that one Simon Says fight near the end of the game, which was an utter slog as well. That thing's just a stack of HP, and the whole Simon Says mechanic is just a waste of my dang time before the actual real fight begins. This game frustrated me like few other games had. And like, I'm hooked into SMT at this point, and I've been really enjoying 5, though I'm not that far along into it, and I enjoyed Nocturne at the start as well. And then at some point, they just thought, let's make this game the equivalent of trying to nail a 2x4 to a wall with your flaccid penis. That's how this game felt like most of the time. Can you do it? Yeah. Is it necessarily a difficult task to do? Depends on who you ask, but it's rather annoying and unpleasant. And I'm even an hour and a half into Vengeance, and there's so many like little design choices in Vengeance where I'm like, oh look, someone actually thought for more than 2 nanoseconds and thought, what if we made the game fun and interesting instead of annoying and a slog? I can save pretty much anywhere in Vengeance, thank God. I see the fights in the overworld instead of it just randomly spawning every 2 feet. I kind of chalked that one just up to Nocturne being old. I'm pretty sure that was like hardware limitations back in the day and it became a trend. The only thing I blame Nocturne for is the rate at which those random fights actually happened, not the fact they happened at all. But I definitely prefer the way Vengeance goes about it. I haven't even talked about the dumbest mechanic I've ever seen in a video game. The clock. It's actually not a clock. It pretty much is. Where you walk around and there's this icon on the top left of your screen that ticks from 0 to 8 out of 8. 0 out of 8 is a new moon, 8 out of 8 is a full. Different things happen in the game based on what phase that thing is in. There's a buff you can get called Bright Might, so where if it's a full moon, that guy will always crit. So if you want to take full advantage of that, before a boss fight or whatever fight you want, you gotta run around in freaking circles waiting for it to go to 8 out of 8 and then start the fight. Again, more design that is designed not to be fun, not to be engaging, but to be a time-sinking slog. That's not it, because this also works for the chests you find in the map. Throughout the entire game, not the cash cubes, there's actual mystical chests you find rather frequently throughout this game, and the lower the number in the top left, the worse the loot is. But the higher, like if you get to 6, 7, or 8, that's when you get the good stuff, like gems or MP restorative items. So whenever you find a chest, you guessed it, walk around in a bunch of circles, remember there's random encounters in this game, wait for it to get to like 6, 7, or 8, 8 being the best, for the chest to give you actual good stuff instead of like a life stone. throughout the stream series, there were people that genuinely could not believe that this mechanic existed because it's so mind-bogglingly stupid. It doesn't contribute to anything. There's like one part in this entire game where it's kind of cool. Funnily enough, in the Kalpa dungeon, where there's a hallway that acts as a portal and it'll take you to different places based on what time it is. That's actually kind of interesting and a neat twist on this mechanic. Everywhere else, it's annoying. And again, is just designed to waste my dang time since I can't manually augment what it is. By the way, for when you do a fusion with your demons, because that's important, yet again, you want to save, wait for 8 out of 8, and then do the fusion, because on 8 out of 8 on a full moon, you get the ability to sacrifice another demon during the fusion process to make the new demon you're fusing way freaking stronger. Not just a little, a lot stronger, because you can also choose to inherit new abilities from the sacrificed demon as well, while also boosting their stats. It wouldn't be an issue if in the menu I could just select what time I want it to be, but I have to just walk around like a headless chicken waiting for it to tick over. It's a waste of my time, and that sentence right there, waste of my time, applies to so many design choices throughout SMT3. I'm glad I played the game, do not get me wrong, but good God, I will never play this game again, unless they make a remake or something. And it's a shame because there's elements that I genuinely love in this game, but these design choices time and time again, and they're not just one-offs, they happen all the dang time. Every dungeon sucks. There's not one enjoyable experience in a dungeon that I had in this game besides being chased by Dante from Devil May Cry. Like, that's the one exception. Every other dungeon. For those who love 3D platformers, imagine if every level in a game, like imagine they came out with a new 3D Mario game, but every level was a water level, and also a pipe level, because that's the equivalent to the dungeon design in Nocturne. There's so many dungeons that are just like, fall in this hole, climb this ladder. Oh, you walk to this space? Well, it actually teleports you over here, up there, and to the left. Now figure out how to get to the end. Again, if it was a one-off dungeon idea, sure, okay, maybe a little annoying, but maybe it mixes things up. But it doesn't mix things up when it's the entire thing. The dungeon design in this game is so laughably one-dimensional, and it's like every element in this game is designed to waste your time. It's not hard or complicated, it's just trial and error, and hoping the random fights you inevitably get put in, because you gotta walk around all the dang place in order to map all this stuff out, and you just gotta hope they don't one-shot you for whatever reason. Or, in certain fights, like in boss fights, you gotta hope that if you're using an auto attack because you know you can absolutely rinse whatever mob you're fighting, you gotta hope there's not a cutscene leading into the next mandatory fight that just happens to show up, where the enemies happen to repel physical. And say for instance you have attack all on Demi-Fiend, so you get 3 repels right in your face and you instantly die, losing all your progress, because the game didn't let you turn off auto attack during the random cutscene. It's annoying. It forces me to play the game really slow, going back to good old reliable, this game's a slog. Also, another element, and this one's a story one that I found a bit disappointing. Why did Pixie just like cease to be a character after the first hour? Like, you pick her up, you talk to the Petras, and then she just like never talks until you get Uber Pixie. I was actually looking forward to her interaction with the Demi-Fiend throughout the game, and they just like never happened. And then when a lot of characters were actually killed off, they happened so quickly and like nonchalantly that it was rather anticlimactic. I still like the story and the world overall, it's just like, didn't land as hard in certain places I feel like it could have. Whew. Okay, I think I got it out of my system. This has been building throughout the entire SMT3 playthrough. I should have known this playthrough was gonna be cursed when I started the wrong playthrough. I clicked on New Game instead of New Game Maniacs. Was all set to fight Matador, and the dude just wasn't there, so I had to restart the entire playthrough. Should have known this playthrough was gonna be cursed when that happened. But I think we're good. I think I got all the pent-up emotions out of me that have been building throughout this series. We're good. We're moving on to SMT5 Vengeance. As I play a bit more, I'll make a first impressions mulling over video for that game, but so far, again, Again, love the atmosphere, love the world, now Albino's really cool. Game is absolutely gorgeous, my god. It's more of that press turn goodness. I like it. Having said that, I'm gonna call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below with the most memorable moment you've had with SMT3 or just SMT overall. A moment that really made you fall in love with it, really frustrated you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your stories, and hear your perspectives. But I do think there are elements to this game that are genuinely brilliant. I think it's just a lot of these design choices are like oil and water for me. But with that, call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Make sure to like and subscribe, and bye-bye everybody. Go play some video games until we meet again. Bye-bye!